Welcome to the Life on Purpose podcast, conversations that explore holistic health, intentional living, learning, and growing. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. All right, welcome back to the Life on Purpose podcast, where today my guest is Dr. Tracy Gapin. Dr. Tracy is a board-certified urologist, world-renowned men's health and performance expert, and the founder of the Gapin Institute, the global leader in high-performance health. He has over 20 years of experience focused on providing executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes a personalized path to optimize their health and fulfill their highest potential. So, Dr. Gapin, welcome to the show. This is an area that I have not spoken much about on this show, is kind of men's health in particular. And also something that is particular interest to me that we were kind of discussing off air is high performance athletes. So there's a lot we can get into here,
Sure.
But what I kind of want to do, I want to start with you and kind of how you, as a urologist and kind of being traditionally trained, ended up with this more holistic view of men's health, kind of testosterone, even some of these technologies that you use. So kind of give me the brief view of your journey, your path.
Thanks so much. And I'm glad to be here with you today, Brandy.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, a board certified urologist. I spent 20 plus years in traditional medicine. I was traditionally trained here in the US. I went through 6 years of general surgery and urology training. And then I was in a busy urology practice for many years. About halfway through that time, I hit a point where I had some health challenges of my own, where I was I was 190 pounds. I was 30 pounds overweight. I had no energy, felt like crap, wasn't eating well, wasn't sleeping, wasn't doing anything right, and didn't really know what to do. As the men's health expert that I am, I found that I couldn't really help myself. And so I went to a concierge doc here in town to get help.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the pivotal moment in my life when I found through that experience with this primary care doctor that he didn't have the answers either. And that I very quickly discovered the fact that we have disease care here in the US. It's crisis care. It's not health care. It's disease care, where we are set up as medical doctors to treat disease. And we're going to find your ICD-10 diagnosis code and give you pharmaceuticals, typically, give you a prescription medications, do a procedure, do surgery, whatever, to manage and address that disease to get you back to this crummy baseline neutral. And then we're done. We're like, off you go.
Yeah.
And in my practice, I had 6 minutes per patient.
Wow.
And so what can you really accomplish in 6 minutes?
Yeah.
And that's all this insurance-based disease model world allowed for, was stamp out disease, stamp out symptoms, and move on to the next patient. And so I learned firsthand that to truly get healthy, optimize myself, I had to learn what to do. And so that got me down a rabbit's hole of learning about anti-aging and functional medicine and peptides and hormone optimization and all these amazing cutting edge tools that we can use. And when I put all these pieces together, I was able to really transform my health and completely change my life. I put these principles together and started applying it with my patients as well. And I was getting the same great results with them. And that's when I knew I was onto something here, that I found my real purpose and passion in life. And that was not just treating disease anymore.
Right.
And so after many years of consideration and preparing and planning, I actually stepped away from traditional medicine to open the Gapin Institute for High Performance Health, where I can integrate all of these facets of medicine. I'm sure we're going to get into this, but traditional medicine is great in some sense, but so is functional medicine, and so is anti-aging medicine, and so are our holistic natural approaches, and lifestyle and accountability are so important. And how can we use peptides and optimize hormones and wearable technology, and genetics is really, for me, a big part of it as well. And I find that the real magic is when you put all those pieces together. The sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah, that's, again, you're speaking my language, because, there have been so many times on this show where I have to reiterate, I'm not anti-medicine. I operate under the umbrella of, kind of wanting to marry these, traditional tools with new technologies, with the wisdom of, old old medicine, Eastern medicine. So how, and this is more of a personal question, but how disillusioned did you become when you knew that you are a physician, you could not help yourself, taking that traditional route to have somebody also, kind of take a look at you outside of, what your knowledge was, could not help you? Like how, I guess, disillusioned did you become? How frustrated did you become that, this is the model in which most people operate under and are not getting the help that they need?
Yeah, great point. It was incredibly frustrating at first because, first of all, I'm just trying to fix myself. I'm trying to be a husband, a dad, the best person that I can be, and I didn't have any answers. And so it was frustrating to really have to reflect on my own weaknesses and vulnerabilities. And here I am as a urologist, as a men's health expert, and you go back to my training, my residency training, I got 0 minutes of training on lifestyle.
Yeah. Wow.
Sleep, stress, fitness, nutrition, testosterone, even hormones. So you think about, okay, well, at least they know testosterone. Not one single day of training on hormone optimization, testosterone, thyroid, cortisol, melatonin, vitamin D, nitric oxide, all these key hormones, none. And so it opened my eyes to the fact that, shit, something's got to be done here.
Right. And did you question that? I mean, when you were going through medical school and your residency, did you ever question, like,
No.
I am going to be a urologist. I'm going to be treating some of these, male health issues that are very closely related to hormone imbalances, toxins, et cetera. And I know nothing about, or I'm not being trained in, hormones and lifestyle and stress and how they affect,
No. There's not even an awareness of that gap in our training, because we're all focused on disease. And this is the challenge when I talk with other medical doctors about what I do now, what is high performance health, and what is the Gapin Institute, and why the hell did I step away from urology? And a lot of them still don't get it, because I don't want to say brainwashed, because that sounds like it was an intentional process of, but it's really, we're taught to think, what's the diagnosis and how do I treat that diagnosis?
Yeah.
And now I recognize there's so much more than that. And it's the marriage of it all. I find that there is still a need for traditional medicine. So testosterone, for example, there is a testosterone pandemic around the world that doesn't get the attention it deserves. We're seeing free testosterone levels 45% lower than they were 20 years ago.
Wow.
Crazy.
Okay, yeah. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I do want to spend some time kind of talking about kind of this epidemic of what we're seeing with, a lot of these imbalances, not even just in men, women as well. But testosterone, since we haven't talked about it on this show a whole lot, what's happening? I mean, 45% lower than baseline is huge.
Crazy. Yeah. And we have 3 longitudinal studies that all showed pretty much the same thing. One was here in the US and 2 were in Europe, and Sweden and Finland. And all 3 showed longitudinally that we're seeing a precipitous decline in testosterone levels. And some of it's surely diet, stress, lack of activity, but most of it, I believe, and there's clear science to confirm this, it's toxins in our environment.
Yeah.
It's endocrine disruptors, and they're in the food that we eat, they're in the water we drink, they're in our personal care products, they're almost everywhere. They're ubiquitous. And here in the US, it's much worse than around the world, where there are a lot of chemicals, toxins that are allowed here in the US that are banned in Europe, for example. And so
we are less regulated in many of those than most other developed countries. Yeah,
that's right. And we see clear science showing that testosterone, and endocrine disruptors affect testosterone, but they also cause autoimmune disease and infertility and insulin resistance, diabetes, precocious puberty, ADD, all kinds of issues with depression. So it's not just testosterone, but when it comes to men's health, that's really the biggest issue we're seeing, is that decline in testosterone. And I'll point out that it's not just about sex. It's not just about building muscle. Men need testosterone for cognitive function.
Yeah.
for memory, focus, concentration. They need it for energy level. They need it to perform not just in the bedroom, but at work and in the gym. And, being a dad, being able to just be active and engaged with your kids. It's a big part of a man's life. And so I emphasize that it really needs to get more attention.
Absolutely. And I think it is. I've been seeing just a little bit. I mean, some people are actually starting to talk about it. It's starting to kind of become or seep into the mainstream some, not as much as we would probably like, but what kind of effects are we seeing? How would a man kind of realize that maybe I'm having some issues with some low testosterone? And then again, what can we do to remedy it?
Yeah, I'll tell you that nearly every single man I see has low testosterone.
Yeah.
Every single man, nearly every man I see has low testosterone. So I want to emphasize that.
It's that chronic. I mean, it's that big of a deal.
It is
very much kind of like
yeah.
our vitamin D, problem.
Yeah, that's
Almost
right.
Every single person is low in vitamin D. So we're kind of seeing, twofold issues here.
That's right. And even down here in Florida, where everyone gets a lot of sun exposure, we're seeing vitamin D deficiency almost uniformly as well. Yeah. Okay. But a lot of men will have no symptoms associated with low testosterone, none that they recognize. A lot of guys will have mild symptoms where like, hey doc, I feel like I just can't focus the same as I used to. My memory is off. I can't think clearly. I have brain fog. Some of them will say that they have really low energy, especially later in the day. There's fatigue where they just want to take a nap. A lot of guys will tell me they take a 20-minute nap later in the afternoon. For the listeners, no guy should be taking a nap late in the afternoon. If you do, something is seriously wrong with you. That's not normal. So that's a common thing, is low energy later in the day. A lot of guys have belly fat. You just walk down the street and you see guys with these big bellies. That belly fat is associated with low testosterone, and it's visceral fat. And any testosterone they do have is getting converted through aromatase enzyme into estrogen, which it makes things even worse.
Right.
And so the balance of testosterone and estrogen is so important. Of course, it affects men's libido, men's sex drive, interest in being with their partner. I've had couples come in where the woman is actually thinking that her husband is cheating on her because he has no interest in sex.
Wow.
And the guy's like, doc, something, help me here. Something's wrong here because I'm not cheating on her, but I don't want it. And
right. So not only are you saving men's health, you're saving marriages.
Oh my, absolutely. Yeah. I'll hear women say, he used to chase me around the house. Now I'm chasing him. Like, think the role reversal, things have changed. Right. It affects guys' mood, their ability to be a dad and be able to be the normal man that they are, to be a role model for their parent, for the kids, to, be a good dad is so critical, intimately tied to testosterone.
So what does that mood part of it look like? Is it depressive? How does that manifest?
Yeah, it's depression. It's tired. It's I don't want to say apathy, but it's lack of interest in life. Mm-hmm. Where they're just kind of going through the motions. I see so many high-performing guys who are incredibly stressed out. Yeah. They're not sleeping well. They're working 10, 12-hour days at work. And what all that's doing, lack of sleep and chronic stress, is giving guys chronically elevated cortisol levels, your stress hormone, which crushes testosterone as well. Wow. So you have these toxins in our environment, which are crushing testosterone. We have stress, which is crushing testosterone. We have belly fat, visceral fat, which is crushing your testosterone. They're eating the wrong foods. They're not exercising, and they have micronutrient deficiencies, and it all kind of snowballs. And it's this ugly, vicious cascade of events that I'm seeing in almost every man.
And I mean, you can just look around, really, because I think even like the men today look different. So that does not surprise me. Again, you made the point of kind of walking down the street and you don't see kind of the lean fit men that you used to maybe 50 years ago, when our parents and grandparents were at their peak. So yeah, you're right. That's something that's very, very apparent. And again, how do you remedy such a big overarching problem? Because that's the lack of vitality in your society it's going to be crushing.
It really is. It's affecting every aspect of a man's life beyond just the typical muscle and sex concept that misconception that people think that's all that's involved here. It's also tied to longevity. We have several studies that show that low testosterone is associated with increased risk of major adverse cardiac events. About a 30% increased risk of cardiovascular disease in men with low testosterone.
Wow.
Very counterintuitive. You hear all this media sensational stuff that testosterone causes cardiovascular disease. It's actually the opposite, that low T is associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. It's also tied to an increased risk of prostate cancer as well.
Wow. Two
What's the big deal?
very scary thing for men, right?
Yeah.
Something that is particularly detrimental in the male population. So someone comes in, you've determined that low testosterone is an issue. We've kind of got, what does the process look like for you? Do you go through their lifestyle? Do you go through their diet? What does that look like when you're trying to remedy this problem and help a man get his life back?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that I do when I work with men, and I want to clarify, the Gapin Institute, we work with men and women. My passion has always been men's health, and that's my background. But now I have women's health providers here as well. So we do work with a ton of couples, men and women. But I know we're focused on men's health here. I just want to be sure that's clear.
Yeah.
But I start with really understanding, what are your challenges? What are your issues? What are your symptoms? What do you find are the things holding you back on a daily basis? And what are your goals? So where are you now? Where do you want to be kind of concept? Because I really practice personalized medicine, understand that everyone's different. And so the testing that we do, it comes down to, advanced comprehensive testing, and everyone's different. And so what I do with each man is going to be a little different depending on what those challenges are. And so it starts with really a deep health assessment to understand their issues, their challenges, what are their goals, what's their, like you brought up, their lifestyle. What are you eating on a daily basis? What does your sleep habits look like? What's your typical nighttime routine? Those 3 hours before bedtime are so important. What are you doing during that time? What does your exercise look like? Are you fasting? Are you meditating? How do you move during the day? How do you balance work and life? How do you find time to, have active relaxation in your life? How much alcohol you drink? And so many guys are drinking 2, 3, 4, 5 drinks a day, and they think, yeah, that's not a big deal. Crushing you. Crushing you. Yeah. So I actually just this morning, 45-year-old guy who says he doesn't think alcohol is a problem, but he's having about 4 drinks every single day. And his ApoB is through the roof. Apolipoprotein B is one of the big biomarkers for cardiovascular risk, and his ApoB is through the roof. His lipid fractionation panel looked horrible. LDL particle count was 2,500. That should be like under 500, under 400.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Right.
So,
do you find that when you present a patient with, okay, these are the numbers, this is what's happening, and this is why.
Yeah.
There's one thing to say, okay, this is what you need to do to remedy it based on your individual health challenges. Do you find that it's difficult for some of these men to make them? Because I know, I coach primarily women, and some of the things that we ask our clients to do is very difficult because you've been on this trajectory and this path for so very long.
Yeah.
What do you find the reaction is with your patient?
Great question. First of all, it's the desire to make change. First of all, it's the desire to want to do something differently. And a lot of times that comes from the women. So I'm honored to be in your community here today, because I find that the women, the wives, are the ones that typically drive healthcare decisions, and they get their men to finally wake up and realize something needs to be done. Right. That being said, it still has to come from within, and the guy has to decide that, okay, you're right, honey, I'm ready for a change. And so that's the first step, is deciding. Yeah. The second thing is, when I work with men in my high performance health program that we have here, it's not just me. And so this speaks back to what we started with, the integrated approach to health. And so when guys work with me, men and women, but we'll talk about men here, I have health coaches, functional medicine trained health coaches from through the IFM Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, who work with them on accountability and actually staying true to their goals and what's preventing you from doing what you know you need to do. So important.
Yeah.
I have a nutritionist that works with all my guys so that they understand. They tell me the same 6 words. Just tell me what to do. Guys are like simple. Just tell me what to do. We're simple creatures.
Yeah.
And so I have a nutritionist who's going to tell you exactly what to eat. Yeah. I have a fitness team based on your genetics and based on your goals, based on your injury status, and based on what equipment you have. We're going to create a customized workout plan that you can actually stick with. Yeah. I have a genetics expert who's going to tell you based on your genetics, based on the cheek swab that we do, those 7,000 or 700,000 genes we look at, this is what you should be doing based on your predispositions or propensities. Yeah. And so it's not just the medical aspect that I bring, not just the hormones and the peptides and the supplements that I can prescribe. It's integrating that with the coaching, with the nutritionist, with the fitness, with the genetics, and package all those together that I think is really the key.
So what they get is a team behind them, right? They get a lot of support and a big
That's
team.
Right.
Because I think, what I found, I obviously went through a lot of my own health issues. And I think the thing that in the very beginning of my whole saga was that I had to figure out a lot of it on my own. There was not, that support in that team. So I find that is extremely important.
Yeah.
And someone to be able to come to and say, all right, look, this is the roadblock I'm running into. I don't know how to get past this. I know I need to, but I'm struggling. I'm struggling because again, it's not something that you or I grew up with, kind of this education of how to take care of ourselves. We kind of lost that wisdom along the way. It's almost like a re-education so that when, they're done with you and your team, I know so much about myself now that I know how to kind of keep myself back on track. And I know that's kind of a goal, that was, mine is that I want to know myself so well inside and out because of the help that I gained from my practitioners that I don't need you anymore. And that's not something that really fits into the traditional medical model. Any good practitioner, doctor is going to tell you, I want you to not need me at some point. Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
So I want to talk about more the personalized aspect, because you mentioned genetics, you mentioned, some of these other testing aspects. How do genetics play a role and how do you target that for a patient?
Yeah. So genetics are best to be thought of as predispositions, as propensity. So for example, we can look at genetics and understand that, nutrition wise, let's just say, we can understand that you have a higher or lower risk of insulin resistance, for example. And so we want to be really careful to measure and track those data points to see if that's a problem. Mm-hmm. We can look at markers related to macronutrients. So for example, some people who have variants of the ApoE gene, for example, they're not going to do well with saturated fats. Yeah. So those who have variants of the ApoE gene, we're gonna look at the data, the published literature that shows that those people have higher risk of cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's disease, cognitive decline with high intake of saturated fat. And so epigenetics is the science of how our lifestyle behaviors can affect genetic expression. And so that's how you integrate genetics and epigenetics. Based on genetics, we can make lifestyle decisions that we know will impact the expression of those genes. And so that's taking a really personalized approach to understanding your propensities and make changes accordingly. So we may find someone, for example, let's say sleep. So someone has issues with sleep. I can look at genes related to sleep and understand, are there risks of sleep disruption or difficulties falling asleep, sleep latency, or sleep duration. Some people actually do better with longer sleep versus others shorter. Genetics can help us understand whether you're going to respond to melatonin. So someone may come in and say, I've been on tons of melatonin and it's not working. And I could look at your genetics and say, well, of course it's not working because based on this, that's not your issue. Your issue is something different. Mm-hmm. We could look at genes that look at grain sensitivity that may be affecting sleep, for example. So for some people, the GAD1 genes, these are how your body breaks down glutamate, which is a very excitatory neurotransmitter, into GABA, which is a very relaxing neurotransmitter. That may be why you're not sleeping, for example. Yeah. And those genetics help us understand these things. And so that's how we personalize it. It's by combining the genetics with the functional lab testing, with the biometric data, and then we use wearable technology to actually follow up and see if what we're doing is working or not. That's how you put it all together to make a really impactful changes.
So what kind of wearables are we talking? Are we talking Oura rings? What kind of technology? Because this is really interesting to me too.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
We're also adding some technology to it. It's not just the
absolutely
lifestyle, etc. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So love wearable technology. All of my patients have to choose something, and I try to be agnostic to a point, meaning that I don't care if you want to use Aura. I personally have Garmin. I've used Aura as well here and there. For me, sleep is not the biggest challenge. It depends on what your goals are. So if sleep is really your biggest focus, then Aura was probably the best one. If you're looking more for HRV, fitness, performance, stress load, that kind of stuff, lactate threshold, then Garmin might be better. Okay. One of the ones that I use for almost everyone is an HRV strap. So I'm going to move my camera down for those of you who are watching this on video. There's a strap that you can put under your chest here, okay, and has a sensor that goes right here below your sternum. And that connects to an app on your phone, and it can measure heart rate variability, or HRV. Yeah. Now, for the listeners, our HRV is simply the variation in your heartbeat from one beat to the next, and it's a surrogate for your physiologic internal stress levels. It's really the balance of your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems kind of fighting each other. And so that balance is super important. And so heart variability is a surrogate or a marker of your internal stress levels. And the best way to track that is to measure it at the same exact time every single day at rest. And so the best time to do that is when you first wake up.
Oh, so this is at rest, not even like when
this is at rest. Yeah. So this is really a key point that took me years to finally recognize this issue is all the wearable devices are and there's actually a study that shows this, any wearable device, ring, strap, anything on your arms are, first of all, not great at accurately representing HRV, but also throughout the day, as your activity changes, that stress level is going to change. So let's say, for example, that today I do today's my leg day. Let's just say I do a heavy leg strength training. My stress is through the roof. That's good stress though. Right. Physical activity is stress in a good way. Short-term stress, acute stress. That's a good thing. If tomorrow I did not do a strength training day, but it was my low intensity day or my day of just active stretching, yoga, relaxation, my stress numbers may look different for that day, because the devices are really averaging it for the whole day, giving you a number for the whole day, which is not necessarily that helpful without putting context to it, understanding it.
Sure, because you're going to see that spike in stress levels when you're doing physical activity, which is
activity, absolutely, right? Exactly, yeah. Or you can see, that's right. But if you check it at the same time every day, and this is what's recommended for true accurate HRV screening, is you do it when you first wake up. So what I do is I wake up at 6 a.m. I get my cup of coffee. Don't hate me. I don't do lemon water like a lot of people. I'm a coffee addict. I love it. Never change. But I'll sit there and drink my coffee while I'm doing a 2.5 minute HRV test. And that is how I start my day. And the app will tell me this, but I can track it from day to day and see my HRV. And so that's a great example of how you got to understand the data, not just using the devices, but how do you actually interpret the data and apply it. And so I can see days, if I'm about to be sick, for example, I'll get a day or two warning. And or if I'm high stressed, I know that it's time to take it easy today and not do a heavy workout, for example. And so
that's fascinating too, because so my husband, who, again, we spoke a little bit about this, is in college athletics. They use a lot of wearables with their athletes, and he uses a lot of wearables himself. And there was a point right before he got COVID that he wears an Oura ring. So sleep is important for him. That based on some of the data with the Oura Ring, he was able to predict that he was going to get sick. I mean, there was something that came up just like a day. I think it was a day right before he tested positive. He kind of knew something was going on. So that's really fascinating too. You can see that there are actually these physiological changes happening with these wearables. You can kind of be alert to some of these, you know, things coming
That's right.
on. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. So I love wearables. I have guys who use Whoop, Fitbit, BioStrap. I would put Aura, Garmin, and Whoop at the top of that list if you had to, you know, ask me, gun to my head, what are the top three. But the HRV strap is really, to me, a non-negotiable. Every morning is really the best way to accurately track your HRV.
So is that something that you do with every one of your patients?
Yeah, I have a high level program, and as part of that, we integrate all these facets, and the wearable tracking helps us really see outcomes, see results. So we track lean muscle mass, you know, skeletal muscle mass and visceral fat and HRV and sleep, you know, looking at wearable tech for sleep. We also track deep sleep and REM sleep. You know, the quality of sleep is much more important than the quantity. So whether you sleep 7 or 8 hours, if you didn't get good quality deep and REM sleep, then it didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about some of these other technologies. GAINSWave technology. I know nothing about this, and so I have so many questions. But this is a technology that helps through high frequency waves for testosterone. Break it down for me. Again, I know nothing about it.
Absolutely. So as a men's health expert, a lot of the men I see, they have issues with weight gain, issues with low energy, brain fog, but they also have issues with sexual performance as well. And so GAINSWave is a modality, a non-invasive treatment that we can use to help improve sexual performance. Now I want to.
This is like instead of like the little blue pill kind of situation.
So this is in addition to.
Okay.
So I want to clarify that there are short-term band-aids to help you with sexual performance, which don't address the underlying problem.
Right.
And then there are long-term solutions. Let's fix the underlying problem. So short-term Band-Aid is like the blue pill, the yellow pill, which is Cialis, a vacuum erection device, like a penis pump. There's injection therapy. That sounds awful, but a lot of guys do that to get erection. So those are ways to, hey, doc, I got to get it up tonight. What do I got to do right here, right now?
That's like the short term. I need a quick fix now while we're working on the underlying.
That's right.
Okay.
And to address the underlying problem, we need to look at things like insulin resistance. You know, an erection is the result of increased levels of nitric oxide, which causes vasodilation. Well, nothing crushes nitric oxide like insulin resistance. And so what you're eating has everything to do with your sexual function. So it's overcoming issues with poor nutrition, overcoming issues with chronic stress, helping men burn fat, build muscle, lose weight, because all of these things directly affect sexual performance. But then we're getting to how can we actually at the site improve blood flow, improve sexual performance, and that's where GAINSWave comes in. It's in addition to the systems approach to everything else that we're talking about here.
I see.
Yeah, and so what it is it's basically delivering sound waves through a probe. So this technology, shockwave lithotripsy, is a treatment that we've done for kidney stones. Back in my former life as a urologist, we would have patients in the operating room with kidney stones, and these devices would send sound waves through the skin, focused into the kidney, to break up kidney stones. Well, scientists found that same technology promoted a process called angiogenesis, which is creation of new blood flow.
Okay. So you can do targeted blood flow.
That's right. So GAINSWave is a shockwave treatment done on the penis to promote angiogenesis, new blood flow creation. And so for men who have poor blood flow as the cause of their sexual performance issues, GAINSWave is a great way to help augment or improve that blood flow, understanding that we got to address the whole system as well.
Right. So how long does that last then? So someone comes in and gets a treatment. How long?
Yeah, each treatment takes about 20, 25 minutes or so. And
Okay.
guys will typically come in packages of six treatments, and then we may wait a month and then do another 6 treatments. And it typically takes a little bit of time. You don't see results overnight, but typically within a couple of weeks, you'll hopefully start to see some effect. I like to emphasize that GAINSWave is great when you properly select the right patients for it. So not everybody's a candidate for it. And if you don't fix these other issues, if you don't fix hormones, micronutrients, stress, nutrition, all that, then the problem's going to come right back again.
So that was going to be my next question is this, is this treatment offered in addition to these other cares, or is it something that you say, hey, okay, I'll do this, but there's all these other things we probably need to work on if you want this to be
that's a wonderful point. And there are a lot of places around the country where you can go to get GAINSWave. Almost all of them, however, are simply come and get your treatment and you're done. You're gone.
Yeah.
And what I pride myself on here at the Gapin Institute is taking a systems biology approach, understanding that our human system is complex and that you can't break it down into isolation.
Sure.
And so, yes, to answer your question, every man I work with who has GAINSWave, we address the fact that's a symptom of an underlying much bigger issue that you have to address as well.
Yes. Yeah. And are most men receptive to?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's really good, and that's where I hate to see kind of this resistance to getting back on track.
Yeah. Guys.
I think that's sometimes very hard. Or difficult for men, women too. Actually, I work with all women, and it's just as difficult for women as well to say, man, the things that I've been doing for my whole life or for how many ever years is what got me here. How am I going to get myself out of this? Is it even worth it? Is it doable?
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to my next question of, what are some of the biggest wins, some of the cases where you're like, yes, this turns somebody's life around.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm on the right track and I'm doing here.
I'll give you a great example. So we talk about sports. One of my clients is a race car driver, actually a professional race car driver.
Yeah.
And he came to see me, this is about, 6 months ago or so, maybe 4 months ago, because he told me how he couldn't focus. He couldn't think quickly enough. His decision-making in the race car was off, and he felt like it was affecting his performance, which for him, that's his job, that's his career, as well as his safety. Yeah. And so we found that for him, he had some testosterone issues, he had some other issues, but his biggest issue was actually in his gut. So we haven't talked about this much today, but the microbiome, the bacteria in your gut, really control so much of your health. Right. And for him, we found that he had major issues with his microbiome such that it was affecting his performance, because through his leaky gut inflammation, leaky gut, he had food sensitivities to foods that he had massive sensitivity to coffee and bananas. And guess what he had for breakfast every single day?
Those two things.
So we cleaned up his gut, we fixed his hormones, we got rid of those foods. And he said overnight, he's like, a light bulb went off. And the next week he goes and wins the St. Pete Grand Prix here in St. Pete, Florida.
No.
And so I took all the credit. Of course, it was all me.
Of course you did.
Right. Yeah. But that's just a great example. I have wealth advisors I work with where they've lost 30, 40 pounds, and now they feel like they're actually alive again. I have a football coach who feels like he looks great. His wife thinks he's sexy again. And, he's back to living his full life. I see so many men who came lost, frustrated, confused, didn't know what to do. And they've tried testosterone. So many men have come to me because they've been on testosterone therapy. They still feel like crap. And they're like, something's wrong here. They don't feel like themselves. And being able to make that transformation for me is incredibly rewarding. And that's really what it's all about.
100%. I mean, when you see somebody go from kind of being half of who they were and sometimes less to getting their life back and having that vitality, that's what we all want.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we want longevity and vitality, and especially, kind of back to athletes too. Sometimes I feel like they have the most crushing moments in their lives when they go from like peak performance to maybe kind of getting out of athletics and, things kind of crash down around them. They're no longer, who they used to be, and trying to hold on to that when you've got factors like natural factors like age, but also kind of, you lose that, I guess, that propensity to be in the gym as much or eat, well, or stay away from certain things. And it's hard to not let that crush you. But when you see them kind of bounce back and get their lives back,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
So go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, yeah, it's incredibly rewarding to be able to experience that and be part of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you also have a book. So tell me this. If someone wants to go pick up the book, what can they find in it and how can it help them? And then
Sure.
also, how can someone work with you or someone like you? Because again, you're in Sarasota, not everybody lives there, and especially not all my listeners, but how can someone take this path? And if they can't work with you, is the book a helpful way?
Sure. So the book you're referring to is called Male 2.0, Cracking the Code to Limitless Health and Vitality. And that book was really my introduction to the concept of personalized proactive men's health.
Yeah.
So Male 1.0 is where we came from. We're reactive. We are, based on disease model medicine. We, men don't like to go to the doctor. And so we'll wait until something's broke before we try to fix it. And so it's that passive reactive approach. It's one size fits all medicine. It's disease model, and it's failing. It's not working. And so Male 2.0 is taking an entirely new approach. It's a systems-based, data-driven approach to men's health, where we're proactive, we're personalized, and we don't wait for disease, and we're not simply getting back to neutral. We're looking to optimize and really enhance performance in every area of our life. And so it's taking a very different mindset. It's a shift. And so it helps guys understand, first of all, why are things going wrong? Why do I feel the way I do? And why is typical disease model medicine not working for me? And really a different way to look at it.
Right.
And so that's what Male 2.0 is all about. In terms of working with me, I'll share with you a way that people can reach out to me in a moment. But I work with men and women around the country. We do a lot of telehealth, so you don't need to live in Florida.
Oh, that's fantastic to know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So we work with a lot of folks around the country. If we're going to prescribe like a prescription, a hormone medication, we have to actually see you. But as part of several of our programs, we actually fly patients in town, put you up overnight, take care of all the travel arrangements, and then do it the right way from there. And then after that one visit, we can then prescribe whatever you may need. But a lot of it doesn't need prescribing. A lot of it is lifestyle, a lot of it is genetics, a lot of it is stuff that we can do remotely. So, again, men and women. And if you want to get a hold of me, our website is Gapin Institute. .com, but we have an opt-in that I'll share with your listeners if you're okay. That will give you a gift.
Please. Yeah. And I will add all that in the show notes as well.
Awesome. So if your listeners want to text the word health to 26786, again, text health to 26786, they're going to get my 10 secrets to high performance health. Okay. They're going to get a digital copy of Male 2.0 that they can read for free. And they'll also get a link to a discovery call. So you can talk to my team, share your challenges, tell you, help us understand what's holding you back. What are your goals? Where do you want to be? And see if we could hopefully help you get there as well.
That's fantastic. I so appreciate the work that you're doing. And especially, like I said, it's not something, an area of men's health that I have spoken about on this show, but it's so important. And again, I hope that more men find that it's okay to reach out and to get this kind of support. So keep up the great work.
Oh, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Dr. Gapin, it has been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much. And I will add all of this in the show notes, and hopefully we can touch base soon.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Thanks.